as we wait, there is one who wrote for me a question. I would like to hear more on organization culture as a risk. How can it be monitored, and what are the indicators?
I hope I got the question right with regard to organizational culture as a risk and how it can be monitored. When I mentioned that organizational culture is a risk, where I was coming from is what we're talking about right now in terms of hybrid working, in terms of automation of organizations, AI, and all the technology that you've had this afternoon. I will be surprised if nobody believes there's a risk in there, as it is. Forget the terminology, the ones we have understood in the English Alfred was talking about, and those who understood Dr. Hatib. But on a serious note, the risk in there is already in there. So when we say organizational culture is a risk, that's where it's coming from. Because you're changing, as an organization, you're changing how you're working, you're changing how you're leading, you're changing your innovation, your staff are being exposed to different areas and aspects when it comes to the technology that they're using. Systems are being put in place that they need to be able to understand, and to be able to understand what, in terms of how do they, what value are they to them, and what should they do and what should they not do. In there lies the risk. So that's why I'm saying organizational culture is actually a risk. So how do we monitor that? I don't want to say there is a one-size-fits-all, because again, the different organizations have their different cultures. But in terms of a board perspective, the board needs to be able, one, to put in place the controls, because they are shaping, they're responsible for shaping the culture of the organization. So they need to put in place the controls of what sort of culture that they're looking for, and then be able to assess accordingly. So when you're doing the board evaluations, you need to have a conversation around organizational culture. When you're doing your risk matrix and looking at what risks are the organization or the company is exposed to, in there you need to have a conversation on organizational culture. Performance reviews for the staff, there's need to have conversations around the organizational culture. You're looking at your values, you're looking at your mission, you're looking at your strategic plan, you're looking at your quarterly reviews, you're looking at staff engagements. Organizational culture needs to be a conversation on a day-to-day. And that is the only way you can be able to assess that you're actually, do you even have a culture in the first place? And what sort of culture are you looking for? What sort of culture are you aspiring to drive? Some organizations tend to, like young organizations, when they're starting, they have employees coming in from different backgrounds, different organizations. You're having the private sector coming on board. Then someone else is coming from civil society. Someone else is coming from being self-employed. They set their own rules and their times. Then you have, one comes from public service and has been given this mentality, I am here and I am in charge. And then how do you merge those? The board needs to set the tone, because they know what they're looking for. So that's why I'm saying there isn't a one-size-fits-all, but the matrix needs to be very clear, set by the board. The boundaries need to be very clear, set by the board. I hope I've answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynda.